Hey everyone, it is June 9th and we are here live for our monthly Q&A and basically a question and answer and ask me anything live streaming call today. So I'm really excited. I have some really great things that we're going to be talking about. If you're here, please say hi. Hi, Gabby. Thank you so much for joining. So I am Nadia, and I am the founder of Nourish by Nadia, and I also have a community called the Plant Powered Kitchen Club. And so in there, we talk a lot about, of course, we talk a lot about plant-based eating, but we also talk about different aspects of everything from meal prep, which is a big topic in our community, but we also talk about other things that are connected when it comes to lifestyle, like sleep, stress, movement, because all of these things are connected. And so we talk a lot about those things. We have we have a cooking class, so we do a lot in there, and it's a lot of fun. I'll definitely link I'll put the link below as well, so you can check it out. But the questions that I'm going to be answering today come directly from my community. So these are things that community members have asked, and so we're going to be covering those today. But if you are watching live, if you have any questions or comments along the way, I'll be reading those as well. So let's get started. Because we do have quite a bit to go over today. So hi, Susan. Thank you so much for joining today. And if you, since you are both in the membership as well, and I'm so grateful for you. So please let me know if you also have any questions along the way. So we're going to go over the first community member question. So Marilyn asked about mindset for beginner plant-based eaters. So we're going to start there because I think that is such a good one, because in the community, not everyone is 100% plant-based. I'm very big on, just being inclusive to all eaters. But I also believe that, most of the members in there, the reason they're in there is because they want to incorporate more plant-based foods into their diet. Whether they want to go 100% or not is up to them. And that's okay, because I think every plant that you add into your diet is going to be beneficial for you. So in terms of, beginner plant-based eaters and mindset. So I would say, some of the things that I would say is that you don't have to go 100% overnight. So when I went plant-based, so initially, I feel like I kind of, for a couple of years, I was definitely eating more and more plant-based, more and more vegetarian meals, but I was also still having, the meat, dairy, eggs, all of that, right? So it took me some time, like a couple of years, and I didn't even realize it. I wasn't doing it like on purpose. It was just something that I was kind of leaning more and more towards. And then one day I decided that I just wanted to go plant-based for a month, and just completely whole food plant-based, and I ended up just sticking with it. So, and that's not to say that everyone has to go on the same journey I did. You don't, but what I want to say is that you don't have to go 100% overnight. So start with easy swaps. If you're like, let's say that you have dairy milk, maybe swap it out for soy or almond milk. Maybe start with like one meatless meal a week. You've probably heard of like meatless Mondays. And so, just start slow and start incorporating more and more into your routine. And then eventually it just becomes a lot easier, especially when you start finding meals that you really enjoy and you really like. It just becomes a lot easier that way. So, and, when it comes to mindset, it's hard, because I would say, for me, there is no one who is who is vegan in my family, in my, among my friends. So especially in the beginning, it was hard. Like I had to, because no one understood what I was doing. And no one really understood, like, why would I want to eat this way? Like, why would I want to make it harder for myself? So you may get some pushback, from, especially from family, but eventually you kind of just have to like know your reasons as to why you want to go plant-based, whether it's for health reasons, whether it's for, reducing animal cruelty, whether it's environmental reasons. When you have your reasons and you're grounded in those, it makes it a lot easier to stick with it, because I know that it can be really hard when you're going against what everyone else is doing and you're not part of like the norm. It can definitely be hard. So and again, it doesn't have to be all or nothing either. So 90% plant-based is still great. So do what you can. And it's always, always about progress over perfection. So I hope that's helpful. So let me know if you find that helpful, if you have any other follow-up questions as well. So we also had another question. So yesterday I actually had posted about eating for better sleep. And it did spark a question from one of our members, Sylvia, and I'm going to get into that in just a minute. But first I want to walk through the sleep and blood sugar connection, because it it segues into her question as well. So, I see this with a lot of women, that sleep changes, start to happen in your 40s, your 50s, and then into your 60s and beyond. And there are some things that you can do to help. So, what you eat in the afternoon, for example, and evening actually has more of an impact than most people realize. So under eating during the day actually raises cortisol at night, and that cortisol is often what wakes you up at 2 a.m. So eating enough is actually a sleep strategy. So incorporate tryptophan rich foods at dinner, things like pumpkin seeds, tofu. I'm really big on tofu, as most of you know. Tempeh, oats. And I know it sounds weird to be eating oats in the evening, but you can have, and you can make energy balls with oats in them. If you don't want to have like oatmeal, for example, you can still incorporate oats into your diet. In the evenings, and that's actually going to help. And normally I say, I'm not big on eating evening snacks. I'm pretty big on like, trying to stop eating by a certain time. But when it comes to blood sugar, it may be something that you might want to try, is having a small evening snack. So even if it's something like oatmeal, a small amount of oatmeal, maybe just a little bit of banana with almond butter, whole grain crackers, it may actually help with the blood sugar. And magnesium, I would say magnesium's another one that I would recommend, whether you're taking a magnesium supplement or if you are eating things like dark leafy greens, pumpkin seeds, dark chocolate, almonds. These are all magnesium rich foods that you can incorporate in the evening that will help you sleep better as well. I would also say when it comes to caffeine, definitely, if you are having sleep issues, reduce your caffeine and maybe stop drinking caffeine by noon. So by 12 o'clock, because a lot of people are actually affected more than they realize. You can start weaning off of it. Let's say that your last cup of coffee or matcha or whatever caffeine you're having let's say it's at 2 or 3. Start winding it down around 12 and see if that has a big impact. And then also when it comes to alcohol, I personally don't drink alcohol, but I know some of you do. And so alcohol actually does have an effect on sleep. Even though for some people, they say that it helps them fall asleep initially, it can wake you up later. So another thing to think about. So now that I talked a little bit about the sleep post that I had posted yesterday in the community, um, Sylvia actually asked a question. She said that I'll just actually read it out loud. So she actually just upgraded her membership yesterday, which I'm really excited about, and because she wants to learn about meal planning, because she said it's her. She said because it's my greatest weakness and causes for unregulated blood sugar. I'd love more ideas for controlling hypoglycemia with steady blood sugars. This has worsened since going plant based as I've relied on beans as my primary protein source. I've also had large blood sugar drops during sleep and large swings throughout the day, discovered by wearing a continuous glucose monitor. Um, and then Sylvia also, in another comment, had said that she was up with a headache this morning, drinking an almond protein shake, frequent issues with hypoglycemia. So between these two comments, it's so the things that I talked about just a minute ago can definitely help. So the morning headache and the overnight drops, they are definitely connected. And that is part of the whole cortisol conversation that we were talking about. So number one, what I would say, check the shake. Is it something that you're making from scratch, or is it something that you're buying? Check the sugar content. You may have already done this, but sometimes it's a good reminder to check the sugar content on there, and whether there is enough fat in the shake alongside the protein. So many of the protein shakes out there, they can spike and then drop blood sugar faster than a whole food option. So I'd be curious to know, what kind of shake are you having? Is it something that you make yourself, or is it something that you're buying? And then we can walk through how to improve, maybe how to adjust that shake. Um, and I would say when it comes to beans, they're a really great source of fiber as well as protein. But I would say also pair them with higher protein density foods like tempeh, tofu, edamame, hemp seeds, and see how you feel from that. And then small fat and protein snacks before bed. Like I said earlier, like a little bit of almond butter, walnuts, hummus with vegetables. You don't need like a whole meal, but just a small snack, and see if that improves things. Um, I would also say that if you're having daytime blood sugar swings, that means that the meals may be too carb forward. I've talked about the half plate method before. So basically, what it means is half your plate is, vegetables like raw vegetables, a salad. A quarter of your plate is some type of plant protein, and then a quarter of the plate is some kind of grain or starchy vegetables. So try that and see if maybe you are having, maybe it's the carbs are a little bit too high for your needs, and you may want to just adjust your quantities a little bit. So let me know if that helps. Also, in if you go into the classroom, there is a blood sugar action guide. If you haven't taken a look at that yet, that could also be really helpful as well. Hi. Hi. I think that's Marilyn. Hi, Marilyn. Thanks for joining. Um, so in the classroom, you'll find it's in the wellness vault, I believe, and you'll find the blood sugar action guide. So that will also give you some tips in there that I may not have covered. So, go through that and then come back with any additional questions, or, maybe you'll see a big improvement. Let me know. And Gabby said, I can totally relate to that. And that's such good advice. I think you were talking about what I had mentioned earlier about plant-based eating. I'm glad that's helpful. And Marilyn, I had talked about, and I'll link you to it, but we had talked about the mindset for beginner plant-based eaters. So I'll definitely link you in there for that one. Okay. So oh, and also I wanted to mention, I also have another meal plan that could be helpful, called the Hormone Harmony meal plan. It's a 14-day meal plan, and it is also in the classroom. But if you need like a little bit more guidance, because when it comes to hormones, blood sugar balance is really, really important. And so, if you are looking for hormone support as well as blood sugar support, that's a really good resource to take a look at. And I'll also put a link as well for that. But it is in the classroom. Oh, no worries. Thank you so much for joining. Okay. So we also had another question. This one was a private message, so I won't say the name, but it is a member of as well. Um, she said, I have a question that can help me understand the how behind your plant based program. I have been surviving multiple cancers on and off since 1999, up to and including dying in 2005. I was told there is no scientific reason I was alive. Fast forward to today, my system can break down raw plant foods. I've utilized smoothies, however, most are not easy on my system. Do you have a way to make the plants in liquid form or cooked form that is easier on a chemo and radiation and many other med cocktail damaged system? Well, first of all, I want to say thank you so much for sharing that. Your story is incredible, and it really, for me, it really hits home as well, being a cancer survivor. And so this is something that is definitely something I can help with. But thank you so much for sharing that. And I'm so glad that you are here with us. You have been through a lot. So when it comes to whole food plant-based eating, so you don't have to go completely raw. If you are finding that there are foods that are harder to digest, I would actually suggest I would suggest, preparing things that are maybe softer. So whether that means, steaming some of your vegetables to make them a bit easier to digest. Steaming your raw vegetables. I would say cooked foods are totally fine. Raw does not have to be a big part of your diet if your body cannot handle it. The idea is we want to incorporate more plants into our diet, and especially coming from like having cancer, it's even more important to incorporate more nutrient dense foods into your diet. And so whatever form that means, whether it's raw, whether it's cooked. But I would say for you, since raw, you are having trouble your with digesting a lot of raw foods, I think that is, there are other ways to go around it. So soups are a really good way. You can get so many nutrients in soups because especially blended soups. You can put so much in there, blend it, and then it's easy to eat too. And then with the blending of like with blended soups, it's also easier on your digestion as well. So that would be, one thing that I would say. Any types of cooked stews are a good way to incorporate different types of nutrients into your diet. Slow cooked grains like oatmeal and rice, mashed sweet potatoes. You can literally take sweet potatoes, put them in the air fryer or in the oven until they're completely cooked through and soft. And then sometimes I just eat them as is, and they're really delicious. But I would also say, that you can also mash them and make like, just have it as a side, or as a snack. Blended beans. So you can also, I know for some people, beans can be harder to digest. So if you haven't been eating beans, a lot of beans consistently, I would say start really slow and then slowly start incorporating more into your diet. But once your body is used to it, they can be a really good source of protein and fiber, as well as they're a really big healing food. So if you've heard of if you've heard of Dr. Furman, he has this method called G bombs. And so basically he talks a lot about basically G bombs are greens, beans, onions, mushrooms, uh, berries, I think, and then there's one more. I can't remember. If someone in the comments remembers what the S is, I can't remember. But anyway, the idea is that those foods are really healing foods for your body. And so beans are one of those. And I would say definitely try to see if you can slowly start to be able to add more of them into your diet, because they would be a really healing food for you. So definitely, I would say steamed and roasted vegetables, eat those over raw. Oh yes, seeds. I think it's seeds. Okay, yeah. Thank you, Gabby. That's right. And then yeah, so then some thank you, Marilyn. It was seeds, yeah. So the S at the end of G bombs is seeds. And that's so G bombs is a method that he talks about, Dr. Furman talks about, of like every day you should be incorporating these foods. And so that's why I mentioned that, because they are very healing foods. Um, and then so I would say definitely incorporate steamed and roasted vegetables over raw foods. Don't try to force it. Don't try to force the raw foods if your body is not digesting it. There are a lot of other ways. And then when, let's say that there are times where you need more low fiber options. I would say peel your vegetables, because the peels actually have a lot of fiber in them. So peel your vegetables, um, well cooked grains, and then blended foods. So these all reduce the digestive load. Now, if you do want to incorporate some raw foods into your diet, that's okay. But I would say, like smoothies, for me, smoothies are always just easy. But if your body is having trouble digesting them, maybe, just do it on occasion. It doesn't have to be like a daily or even, multiple times a week thing. You can do it less frequently and see how your body feels, or have it in like small amounts. It doesn't have to be like, a big bottle that I do. Have it in, very small amounts, so that you're still getting some of the raw food into your diet without it overloading your digestive system. Um, and then, and I'd be happy to talk to you further about this. If you, wanted some personalized help, we can talk about that offline as well. And then, so that was it for questions for this week. But I also wanted to talk about, I actually wanted to see if there was anything else that I wanted to talk about. But in the meantime, let me actually take a look at the comments. Susan said, my sister went plant-based, but she wasn't educated enough to add nutrition needed. She ended up feeling lousy and went back. That happens so often. I feel like a lot of times people, they don't they don't necessarily give it a chance, and they don't learn enough about it, and then they think it's the diet, but in reality it wasn't the diet that was the problem. It was that they weren't adding enough balanced foods into their diet. And that's why I like with what I do. I like what I do because I'm able to teach people that. It's like what I'm seeing a lot of is influencers and people online saying, they were plant-based for all these years, and then something happened and they couldn't go plant-based for health reasons. And oftentimes, yeah, okay, so there are times that maybe that is legitimate, but I often think that there are ways you can be completely plant-based and be able to maintain it, as long as you know what you're doing. You're getting your blood work taken. People talk a lot about, oh, well, you can't go plant-based because you're not going to have B12. Um, but what a lot of people don't realize is that the meat that they're eating is being injected with B12. B12 actually comes from soil, but our soil, at least here in the US, is so depleted at this point, it doesn't actually have enough B12 or any B12 in it. So animals are actually being injected with B12. So, which means that people are getting it through basically they're being supplemented with B12 without them really realizing it. And the other thing is B12 is not just a plant-based problem. I think that there are a lot of people who are deficient in B12, whether they eat plants or not. So, there's just a lot of misconceptions out there. And I think it's just a matter of really just getting educated no matter what your diet is. Um, Gabby said, didn't know about these. So thank you. Yeah, of course. And Marilyn said going plant-based should become a lifestyle. I agree about the soil and B12. Yeah, I think it's a lifestyle. No matter, I think we all go through no matter what your reason is for going plant-based, I think that it does become a lifestyle. Like for me, it's a lifestyle. Now for me, initially when I went plant-based, it was because of health reasons, just because of everything I had read. But over time, now I understand animal agriculture and animal abuse that happens, animal cruelty, the dairy industry, the meat industry, the environmental impact. I understand over time I've learned all of those things. And so for me, it is truly a lifestyle. It's not just about being plant-based, but it's also a big part of it is being vegan as well. And, the vegan lifestyle. So everyone has their different reasons, but that's a really good point that it does definitely become a lifestyle. So um I think that was everything that I actually wanted to chat about today. We went through quite a bit of questions, and and just to kind of do a quick recap. So, we talked about sleep and, trouble with sleep. We talked about blood sugar stability, how that's the foundation, and how it affects sleep, energy, hormones. It also affects mood as well, and just how everything is connected. We also talked a bit about, um, we talked about raw foods versus cooked foods and how to incorporate more plant-based foods without it, without being fully raw. And then I also discussed a little bit about some of the resources that are in the community. So I talked about the blood sugar action guide as well as the hormone harmony meal plan. So if you're looking for something to follow for a couple of weeks, I would definitely say the 14-day hormone harmony meal plan is a really good place to start. And I always try to keep it easy too. I don't like, I personally, I don't like to cook for hours at a time. So for me, when I'm creating these meal plans, they are relatively quick so that you can actually follow them. Um, but let me know if you have any other questions. But that is everything that I wanted to chat about today. And thank you all so much for joining. And if you have any other questions, I'm going to do this on a monthly basis, a Q&A, and I think this is a really good way to connect with you, but also to answer questions that may come up throughout the month. So thank you so much for joining today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye, everyone.